Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to this, our first family webinar of the spring semester of 2025. We have a great topic lined up, and I know that lots of you are interested just based on how many of you have joined us during this lunch hour webinar. So I am going to waste no time and turn it over to our presenters for today. I'll just make a note that this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel after the fact, and you can look for an email later this week with a link to the recording. So with that, I am going to turn it over to my partners in career development and professional engagement who are going to be speaking all things internships today. Welcome.
Great. Thanks so much, Heather. And I just want to reiterate my thanks to all of you for taking the time out to have this conversation with us about internships and applied learning here at William and Mary. And uh, a couple things. One, very passionate about this topic, Lisa and myself, given that this is our chosen profession, but also more personally, I also have a college-age student looking for an internship. So it's a very personal topic for me as well at the moment. But thank you for those who are attending the conversation live, but also to those who are watching the recording. Thank you for taking the time. So today's conversation, again, all about internships, and we want to make sure that we leave, enough time for good discussion, questions afterwards. But we wanted to tee up a few ideas around the internship process and how you can best support your students. But we want to spend time defining, what is an internship? Why are they important? There's different types that we kind of want to get into as well just because there are some nuances to the different choices that students can make when it comes to the internship process, but also a variety of different pathways that students can take to secure an internship, whether it's during the summer or during the academic year. And then we're getting into some of the specifics around the resources that students have access to here at William and Mary that we want to make sure that they're taking advantage of, again, to kind of maximize their chances of securing an experience that they want. So we want to spend a brief time just introducing ourselves. So this is the Internships and Applied Learning team here at William and Mary, and my name is Phil Heavilin. I serve as the Director of Internships and Applied Learning, and I'll pass it over to my colleague Lisa to introduce herself.
Sorry, my unmute didn't want to work. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Randolph. I'm the Assistant Director for Internships and Applied Learning.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. And not joining us, but an integral part of our team, Owen Marino, serves as our coordinator for internships and applied learning. So in brief, our team manages a few different programs and initiatives here at William and Mary. We'll talk about a few of these during the course of our conversation today, but we manage our FUSE program, which provides funding for students in unpaid or underfunded student experiences. So that's a program that we manage, but we also manage our job shadowing program called Tribe Shadow, which provides 1-2 day experiences for students. Again, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that going forward in the variety of different campus initiatives that we have as well. I wanted to spend just a minute or two talking about the investments that William and Mary is making in the internship search process for students. There's lots of data that demonstrate the importance of internships, the benefits of internships. We see this over many years, but even more so now, how important securing internships are for a student to successfully not only transition into those full-time positions after they graduate, but during their course of their time here, helping them make better informed decisions on what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And so we want to make sure that we're creating an experience, but also an environment that's conducive to helping students find their path. So just a few examples here of things that the university has done to support students seeking internships. One is I mentioned the FUSE Fund that we'll, again, talk a little more detail later on. But thanks to the support of our parents, our alumni, friends, for contributing to this fund, we've been able to increase our funding of students by 83% just from last summer to the summer of 2023, 2024 to this past summer, 2024. Again, thanks to the generosity of those in our community. We also recently launched One Network, which is an online platform that's designed to facilitate networking between students, between alumni, faculty. Think of it like the LinkedIn for William and Mary. And so this is an investment that the university has made within the last 18 months or so. We've also been really successful in securing a variety of different grants from the state of Virginia, over $350,000 worth of grants just within the last, excuse me, 18 months or so. One in particular grant is designed to help us transform our campus-based jobs to be more internship-like, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. And also just the investments that have been made in expanding staff to support students, whether it's through career advising staff or employer relations, outreach staff. My position, Director of Internships and Applied Learning, is a new position as well as Owen's. So Lisa was a team of one when it came to internships and applied learning. Now we have a small but mighty team waking up every day thinking about how to help students secure these opportunities. So we'll get into a little bit about definitions because internships, if you've had one yourself, if you remember that experience, internships can be broad. They're very diverse. They can mean different things for different industries, but there are a few characteristics that we look for when determining if an experience is truly an internship. And we have here a definition from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, which is our professional organization as career professionals in higher education. But here are some of the factors that we're looking for. So we're looking for that connection between the classroom and that real world experience. And so it's not exclusively a classroom experience. It's not exclusively an off-campus experience. There's going to be an interplay between those two environments. We're also looking to see if the student's learning skills that are transferable. And so regardless of the industry, there's going to be skills, we call them, NACE calls them career competencies, 8 skills that employers are looking for when hiring new graduates. Are students developing those skills of communication, critical thinking, leadership during their time and their experience? Because those are skills that they're going to be able to benefit from regardless of whatever career path they decide to take. There's also typically a defined time frame, or in part because it may be project-based in terms of the experience, and also a distinguishing factor between an internship and what would be just a regular ongoing job, but there's usually a defined start and end time. There's also a position description that is very clear with responsibility. So again, if it is project-based, usually there's information about the scope of project, the types of professional development that you might be exposed to, the skills that you develop. So we're looking for that when it comes to a truly high-quality internship experience. There's also defined learning goals, and this really puts a lot of onus on the supervisor, the manager of the intern, to think about what it is that I hope that this student gains from this experience. And that takes a lot of conversations with the student in the beginning to understand what their career goals are, professional, personal goals, and how might they shape an experience that helps the students develop in those target areas. We also are looking for experiences where students are not kind of off on their own, and perhaps even floundering. Now, there is something to be said about building resiliency and self-reliance in some cases, but we don't want them to be completely on their own. We want to make sure that they do have access to their supervisor on a regular basis. If they have a project that they're working on, that they're giving access to the right resources and tools in order to accomplish what's been set out for them in terms of the internship project. And in addition to that, is there that regular feedback, that continuous loop of communication between the supervisor and the student. We're looking for these items to really determine if this is a high quality internship experience. And boy, the benefits are many. This slide really could have twice as many factors, but here are some of I think the more important points when it comes to why students should think about securing an internship. First of all, it's just a practical experience that they'll gain. And so it's the things that they won't learn in the classroom, but it's those things like professionalism, showing up to work every day on time, dressing the part, finding the parking or securing, some things like that. These are very practical skills that are really good for students to develop in their experience. I mentioned already the skill development and touched on some of those competencies that we're looking for. This is a chance for them to think about where their strengths are and where they would like to develop in terms of speaking. For example, we have students who might be, a little uneasy about public speaking. And so that might be a goal, that might be a skill that they have for themselves, and working with their supervisor, finding opportunities for them to develop those public speaking skills so that they come out of it that much more ready for the next opportunity. Networking is also a real critical component to an internship, especially if a student finds an opportunity within their given industry or even within the organization. Giving them a chance to build relationships with individuals who can pass on to them guidance and insights into the profession, into the industry, so that the student can make informed decisions. There maybe even be mentor relationships that come out of this. So internships can provide that type of experience. Internships are also a chance for them just to try something on or try something out. Sometimes internships don't always work in the sense that they realize this is something I don't want to do. And we argue that's equally valuable as the internship that confirms a student's interest. And so gives them a chance to try something out to see if they don't like it or not. It's short term, it's low risk, it's low committal. And oftentimes, students do multiple experiences as part of their career exploration. We definitely want to get that experience on the resume, and that's something that Lisa for sure does with our career advisors. When students come back from the summer, one of the first tasks, so hopefully they've done it during the course of the summer, starting to add that experience to their resume. But oftentimes fall recruiting comes pretty quickly, and so students have a short time frame to add that internship on their resume and be able to then speak to the experience and shape them into stories that they can use during interviews. So great resume builders. Employers love to see internships on student resumes. Definitely increases employability for all of these reasons, both the skill development, the transferable skills, and the industry knowledge that they gain, and also just increased confidence. We see it all the time that students come out of it ready to go for the next opportunity. It's okay, Lisa. We're good. It's also important to talk about some of the nuances between the types of internships. Again, the types are vast, and there are some considerations to make for students as they're thinking about which types of internships to pursue. There's certainly the compensated and not compensated internships. Paid internships tend to be skewed towards those middle, larger organizations that have larger staffing budgets to provide compensation for their interns. Unfortunately, some do not. And there are standards for unpaid internships that the Federal Labor Standards Act outlines. That, for example, whenever an employer would like to post an unpaid internship to our recruiting platform called Tribe Careers, we do ask them to complete a form that just says that they will abide by these standards of unpaid internships. So it's something that we monitor closely. And again, why we have our Fuse Fund to help students in those types of experiences. And then before I get to modality, internships for credit. Some internships there will be credit associated with it. Sometimes it's not. We at William and Mary, we don't have a university-wide requirement for students to participate in internship, although many of our majors and our departments do have internships on the books. So a student could work with with their faculty supervisor to do a credit-bearing internship. There's a few programs, mostly graduate programs at William and Mary that do have a required internship. But one misnomer that's often repeated is that students cannot get paid and get an internship credit and get a credit for their internship, which is not the case. Students can get paid and get credit simultaneously. And then the modality is also a factor when students are looking at opportunities. We certainly during the pandemic saw a surge in virtual internships, and the question was, will this be sustained after we came together after the pandemic ended? And I would say that there definitely has been a kind of pendulum swing back to the in-person internships. I think students crave it, employers crave it. However, there's still a substantial number of opportunities that are either virtual or hybrid, just given the nature of the work. You see this more in computer science or coding, for example, which can be done more virtually. But some of the client-facing, customer-facing things you may see more hybrid, more in person. We have a slide that talks about the ecosystem here at William and Mary, but international internships, we have a great global education office. Whether it's domestic or international, internships are a possibility that students will have access to. There's also more research-focused internships. So you think about the workplace, you oftentimes think about off-campus opportunities. But there's research-focused internships as well, working with faculty members here at William and Mary in various disciplines, or it could be working at think tanks like the Brookings Institution, where maybe they're doing research and writing policy papers and white papers. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, on-campus internships were really being more conscientious and intentional about the experiences that students have when they're working on campus and looking at the positions that students have on campus, whether it's working at the rec center or even in our office here in the Office of Career Development and Professional Engagement, we have student assistants. How can we take those attributes that I talked about earlier about what makes a high quality internship experience and incorporate them into these campus-based opportunities? So we're doing a lot with working with supervisors on campus to help shape their experiences to be more internship-like, to think about incorporating learning goals, to think about how intentionally they're helping the student build skills that are going to be transferable to those opportunities that align with their post-graduation goals. So I mentioned the ecosystem at William and Mary, which to me is just fantastic. Here we are, the Internships and Applied Learning team working in the Career Center here on campus, but by no means are we the only pathway to securing an internship opportunity. And I think, in my opinion, this is really the secret sauce and the key of success for William and Mary, in that we have partners across campus within the William and Mary community who see giving students access to these types of experiences as a priority. And there's so many different ways that students can access these opportunities. So here is just a few examples that we pulled from our network of partners who offer internship experiences. Our Office of Civic and Community Engagement have these community capacity internships that students can participate in during the semester. It's 70 hours for a semester. They get a small stipend. Really great opportunity to engage in projects within the community here around Williamsburg and Hampton Roads. We have, of course, our Washington Center for students interested in public policy and working with DC-based organizations. I mentioned the international internships. Our Global Education Office has programs where there are internship components to it. The Charles Center is our centralized group that facilitates research-based opportunities. Our campus departments, as I mentioned, and these are both the administrative departments, like our office, or working in central administration with our president's office, or our chief technology officer, our marketing office, but also all the different departments that we have, like strategic cultural partnerships, or the Global Research Institute, or AData. They're also hiring students and providing really rich learning opportunities for them. So the internship ecosystem here at William & Mary is thriving. Let's talk about funding, because we mentioned there are paid opportunities, and those are fantastic, but there's really great opportunities that, for a variety of different reasons, may not be funded. And so we are doing our best to minimize or eliminate the barrier that students might have when it comes to funding their experience. It's a key priority for us now, and it will be a key priority for us going forward, is to minimize, eliminate the financial barriers that students might have. We don't want them to not participate in the experience just because it's not paid. And so I mentioned earlier the Fund for Unpaid and Underfunded Student Experiences, our Fuse Fund. And thanks to, again, the generosity of so many parents and alumni, we've received two separate $1 million gifts within the last 2 years, in addition to multiple gifts in a variety of different levels that go directly to students to support their expenses. So it doesn't offset compensation, but what it does is it does take care of all the expenses that students would have that are directly related to them participating in the internship. So students submit a budget to us, which is a great exercise for any college student to actually put together a budget. And so they put together a budget, send it to us. They list out the expenses they have, whether it's housing, food, transportation. Sometimes students, if they feel like they need to have more work-appropriate clothing, will put in a funding request for clothing. And all students on campus have up to $5,000 during their time as an undergraduate student. And that's not a one-time use only. They can spend $2,500 one summer, and then they'd be eligible to apply for up to $2,500 again. I mentioned the Charles Center, but there are multiple, just like the ecosystem, there are other channels of funding as well here on campus. All right, and I think I'll pass it over to my colleague Lisa now.
So we're going to start with the negatives so we can end with the positives. We're going to talk a little bit about common mistakes that students make when doing an internship search. Some start too late. They might not tailor their application materials. They don't think about networking, especially not thinking about networking in advance, because that certainly does take time. They might not follow up with the organizations that they're applying to, not using campus resources, thinking about only those big names, right? Like, I've heard of this place and I know it's a good place, but there's a lot of really exceptional internship programs at even smaller organizations, and not focusing on professionalism. So a lot of this stuff, how do they know? They don't know what they don't know. And so we encourage them. That's what we're here for, is to help them through this process, to help them know kind of what to expect and what they might be wanting to do at each stage of the process. Finding an opportunity takes time. We always encourage them to meet with their academic advisor if they're thinking about any kind of internship or applied learning, so that they're really planning ahead for when that's going to fit into their academic plan. That might be a summer. It might be during the academic year. If they're doing the DC program, that's available in the summer, but also during the academic year. So during that, if it's during the academic year, they're away from campus for a semester. So really just planning out what that might look like. And they don't need to know exactly what they want to do, but just having those conversations early really helps that planning process. We encourage them to do a lot of research and explore different opportunities, and we provide a lot of ways for them to do that, which we'll talk about. Attending events, we have a lot of employer events on campus where they can engage with them, learn about opportunities, learn tips and tricks for applying for those opportunities. And we encourage them to subscribe to listservs. Lots of different campus offices, some of the ones that Phil mentioned, have their own listservs. They send a newsletter every week with great opportunities. Check out websites and also looking at the Internships and More newsletter. So we have two newsletters that go out to all students. One goes out every week, and that's Career Conversations. Students get that every Sunday. We provide some of our upcoming events, and the reason I say some is we have a lot of events and there's just not enough room for them all, but we do highlights of events. We do industry sneak peeks so that they can have an idea of what resources are available to them for different industries that they're interested in, and sharing resources that our office has. Then every other week they get an Internships and More resource that has applied learning resources, open positions that they can apply for. They also can, through Tribe Careers, sign up for industry newsletters. And so we have business, creative, public service, education and human services, and STEM. And they are all on different frequencies, no more than once a week, but those are really curated with opportunities and resources specific to those industry areas. In terms of where to search, I mentioned events and employer engagement on campus. So we have career and internship fairs. We have general ones. We also have more niche ones, which we'll tell you about all the ones that we have coming up this semester. We also do on-campus recruiting. So employers will come to campus to interview students, and they can, again, find all of that through Tribe Careers. Newsletters, we have different Blackboard pages. So there's an internship Blackboard page. There's also each industry has their own Blackboard page, which has a lot of resources. Talking to their peers, talking to faculty members, just to learn about what other people have done, what maybe they hear about. And a lot of academic departments also have listservs where they share out internship opportunities as well, and learning from alumni. And that's part of that whole networking thing, but also potentially about finding out about opportunities. So Tribe Careers is our platform where all students have access to it. They can look for they can have a profile in there that they can have public to employers or not. Again, they can sign up for those industry newsletters. They can find opportunities, and there's different filters. They can set job alerts to have the system send them new things that come in that fall within their filter parameters. They can RSVP for events and get all of the information about events as well. And then on our web page, we have internship databases and resources. So we have general ones, we have geographic specific, we have them for diverse candidates, and then we have them mostly by our industry areas with a couple extras sprinkled in there. But so if students are looking to just kind of start that whole exploration process of what's available, that's a good place to start as well. I mentioned the internship Blackboard page. We have a student internship contact database there of information about where students have done internships, like organization, what their title was, if it was in person or virtual or hybrid, where it was located, if it was in person, when they did it, as well as when they did or will graduate. So students can see if a student's looking for something early on in their college career, they can see where other students have done that. It also has their contact information. So these are all students who have said, you know, I'm happy to talk to other students about my opportunity, my experience, to help them learn from that. We have industry-specific internship resource or internship search resources for each industry. Sometimes we'll post things in there that for one reason or another aren't posted in Tribe Careers. It might be that we got it late. There's lots of reasons for that, but and then we also have skill building platforms. So Phil talked a little bit about skills, and you know, if a student is looking at internship opportunities and they maybe don't have a specific skill that they're looking for, we have resources in there for that as well. And there's also some interviews with former interns that talk about their experiences. So how we help. Phil mentioned One Network. We help them connect with alumni on LinkedIn as well. Resumes, cover letters, interviewing, all the things to help get them prepared. We encourage you to encourage your student to check out. We have resume samples, tips videos, and lots of resources on our website. Phil mentioned the Tribe Shadow program. So it's a 1 to 2 day job shadowing experience. It's hosted all across the country in different places. We've got a physician in Atlanta that typically hosts. We have a judge in Minnesota. We've got them everywhere. So it just helps students kind of get some exposure to different industries and organizations to help them learn about that. They are offered year round, but predominantly what we focus on is kind of packaging them over winter break. And so this is a photo from one of our great partners who hosts every year from a high school. And, you know, the students have really rich experiences. Engaging. A lot of times they'll follow up, you know, kind of keep in touch with the host, and that's helpful as they journey throughout their development and careers as well. There are also other applied learning opportunities. So our pre-med students are probably going to be focused on clinical shadowing experiences versus internships. Students do capstone projects. There's entrepreneurship activities. There are micro internships. So we partner with a platform called Parker Dewey that facilitates companies posting these micro internships. These are short-term project-based. They are all paid. They are predominantly remote. So that's a good opportunity for maybe a student athlete who doesn't have a lot of time, or someone who's doing study abroad over the summer, but it's only for a month or 6 weeks and they have some extra time. Sometimes those are really good opportunities for them to still get some experience, even though they don't have the time to participate in a traditional internship. Doing field work, doing community service, volunteering, all of those things are great ways for students to get experience and start building up that resume. In terms of how you can support your students, encourage early planning. That being said, also kind of balance that. I meet with a lot of students who come in their freshman year and they're like, I have to have an internship this summer. And it's not that students don't do internships after their freshman summer, but it's also not the make or break. They absolutely have to have one. So, you know, again, planning early, but also not being necessarily tied to one specific plan. Providing resources, assisting with application materials. If you feel qualified to do that, if you don't, send them to us. We're happy to help. Networking, helping them prepare for interviews, really just being there to support them, because it's a stressful process, right? Looking for an opportunity. And so having someone at home to lean on can be really helpful. If, you know, helping them with financial guidance. Probably one of the biggest things is celebrating successes and providing practical advice. So we know from lots of research that students often focus on faculty and family in terms of where they go for their career development needs. And so hopefully today we've provided you with some good resources and some knowledge about where you can find things. But again, that's also what we're here for. So feel free to send them our way, and we're happy to meet with them as well. So I mentioned fairs. So we have lots of fairs coming up this semester. This Friday, we have a virtual government education and nonprofit fair. There's a museum expo the following Friday. The Friday after that, we have 2 events. We have a career diversity expo and a career and internship fair. One's in the morning, one's in the afternoon. March 27th, we have a campus and community student employment fair. And then in the end of March, we have a brand new fair, which is the Public Interest Technology Fair, which is new for us and we're excited for. So excited for what opportunities that will bring to students. In the fall semester, we have other specific fairs. We have a career and internship fair, career diversity expo. We have those every semester. In the fall, we also have a science careers fair that I forget the exact name of, but that's basically it. And I think that's all, unless Phil can think of something I'm forgetting in terms of fairs.
I think this is pretty comprehensive.
All right. So that is our information. You know, feel free to check out our website, contact our office, or have your students contact our office. resources for out-of-state students is a question that came in. It's a really good question. Absolutely. So we have opportunities in our tribe career system from all over the country. We have employers come to career fairs. That's not limited to just local or just Virginia employers. They're from everywhere as well. And we can also talk to them about how do they specifically look, what resources are available for them in whatever area they're looking for.
That's great.
Okay, thank you so much. There was a lot of information. One of our families noted there's so much information, great resources. How do we keep up? So just want to off the top share, of course, this conversation was recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for you to access at any time. And you can access it in a year. If your student is starting their internship journey in a year, you can come back. But of course, we always have our partners in career development and professional engagement as part of our webinar series and our newsletter communications. And both Phil and Lisa have written wonderful from the desk of, which you see in your monthly newsletter. So there are lots of resources specifically for families, but we'll also be sure to share this recording and resources mentioned in a follow-up email later this week. One of the things that I had a question about but was covered was how can families support their student? But I am curious if there are any families who are listening right now or watching the recording later that are like, I work a really cool job and I want a William and Mary student to learn from me about my really cool job, or I just want to open the doors to my company, my business, my practice to a William and Mary student. How can families provide those opportunities to students?
Yeah, that's great. In fact, just this morning, I met with a William and Mary alumnus who had that very same question. And it can really just start by reaching out to any one of us, and whether it's a conversation that we have or it may involve if there's potential for hiring or recruiting, bringing our employer relations team on board as well. But with the alumnus who I met with this morning, he's an executive for an energy company in Houston. And as you can imagine, maybe not a ton of students going to Houston, but we thought, well, let's see what the interest is. And so we're going to plan an industry talk with him that would be remote, virtual, and give students a chance to hear what it means to work in the energy industry right now with all the interesting things going on with in that space. And so if we have family members who are interested in doing something like that, that's something we can certainly facilitate. We also met with several family members who hosted externs. And so these 1 or 2 day, typically 1 day job shadowing experiences where students get a chance to talk with different individuals at the organization, just help them understand what goes on there and different career paths. And so, but all that to say, they can reach out to us, and whether it's us or getting some of our colleagues involved, we'll make sure we get the right people in the room.
Wonderful. It's a great way. I think sometimes families forget that they too are a network for their student to tap into and for other students to tap into. And it's a great way to get engaged if you're looking for ways to support our student community beyond just your own. There are a couple questions that were asked that I would like to ask out loud, just so for the sake of everyone who wasn't able to join us live, we can get some of those questions answered. Are these resources available for students after they graduate? And if so, how long after they graduate?
They are available forever. And that was a change that was made a year or two ago. It used to be for 3 years after they graduated. We now have an alumni team that is part of our team. So it just looks a little different depending on how long they've been out. And so up to 3 years, they typically would still meet with a career advisor within our office. If it's more than 3 years, often they will meet with our alumni team, just because it's kind of different in terms of what they might be looking for in terms of support. But definitely resources. They also have access to Tribe Careers for Life. And all the resources on our webpage are open access, so anyone can get to those as well.
Wonderful. Are internships only available during a student's undergraduate career, or are any available for recent grads? So, say someone's graduating May 2025 and they're looking to take a year or take some time between school and their next step.
So in terms of internships, some are available after people graduate. That is something that it takes a little more work to identify those ones, that are not just for undergraduate students. A lot of times, if a student's taking a year or two, before going to grad school, let's say, we encourage them to check out fellowships because those are typically, often but not always, meant to be 1 to 2 years. So it's kind of the perfect situation where the student only wants something for 1 or 2 years, the organization only needs them for 1 or 2 years. So it's like an internship where the student is learning from that experience versus a job where you just need to go in ready to go.
We're getting a few questions about DC, the Washington Center. One, does the Washington Center offer any support in terms of helping students find internship opportunities? And then there was a question about if a student decides to do an internship in DC, maybe not necessarily associated with the Washington Center, but they do an internship in DC. Is there any funding support available for those students?
Want to take that, Phil?
Sure, yeah. So there's a team up in DC that do support students for those programs that have an internship component. They help the student find opportunities in the area. And in terms of housing, they do have resources that they have on their website for students that are participating in their programs, but they also have information for students who are just going to be studying in DC, and I can drop that in the chat as well. But for those who may be watching the recording who don't have access to this, you can go on William and Mary's website, and even if you just put housing in DC, it should come up pretty quickly.
Let's see what we haven't covered quite yet.
I want to answer one that just came in, if you don't mind. Fuse internship funding is not need-based in terms of financial need. It is need-based in terms of, Phil mentioned it's done on a budget model, so it is only meant to cover living expenses that are related to participating in the internship. It's not meant to provide pay for the internship experience. But financial need is not considered at all, with the exception of we do have to check with financial aid if it's during the semester and they get a large amount of financial aid, just because we don't want what we're providing to negatively impact the student in the financial aid that they're receiving. So we do check that with financial aid to be sure we aren't causing harm with what we're providing.
Makes sense. So for a second semester freshman, it sounds like a good first step would be to stop by the Career Center and ask for help. Do students need an appointment to stop by, or what is the best way for them to get started with the Career Center?
If it's their first time, we would encourage them to schedule an appointment, which they can do through Tribe Careers, or they can call the front desk. We do offer drop-in hours Monday through Thursday from 2 to 4. Those are more meant to be kind of quick questions, a quick resume review, things like that. But if they're really wanting to talk about how do I get started in this whole process, that is much better to have in a one-on-one conversation. And we do appointments on 30-minute, they can choose 30 minutes or 60 minutes. So either is available.
Wonderful. And for all families as well, linked in every monthly newsletter that you receive is a link to the Career Center's calendar of events. So if you're ever curious what's happening just in terms of what career support and what career events are available, that's a great resource to check out as well. One question here, my son is a junior and has applied to lots of internship opportunities and he hasn't gotten any response yet. How can families support their students when they're like, I'm trying and I'm just not getting any bites? What do I do next?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. Typically when you have someone who's applying but not getting a response. Typically, there may be something in their application materials that's not aligning well with whatever they're submitting it to. So maybe coming in and some of those drop-in advising hours, as Lisa mentioned, or just scheduling a time with a career advisor to do analysis and look at the materials, look at what you're applying to. Many organizations are using applicant tracking systems, and so if you're not hitting those appropriate keywords and the right frequency and even the right location on your resume, you may not be maximizing your score and therefore not getting through to the next level or the next round. Another piece of it is in addition to applying online, which can be very demoralizing just because of the response rate. We really encourage students to do what they can to meet people, especially women married alumni who may be in those target organizations or within the industry. They may also be able to provide some insights on how they can enhance their application materials to be more compelling, and may even be in position to refer them to colleagues who are hiring, or the perfect scenario is they themselves may be hiring. So it usually takes a hard look at the application materials and making sure that it's aligned well with what they're applying to, but also complementing that strategy with making real connections to people.
Okay, I am going to ask my last question of the afternoon, which is if my student wants an internship for summer 25 and maybe they haven't started looking quite yet, is it too late for them?
I would
But
say it depends. There are certainly industries that are on a very early hiring timeline. For instance, investment banking, finance, a lot of them have opportunities already posted for summer 2026 right now. So there are some. Now, that being said, is it a complete lost cause? No, we can certainly talk to them about what might be kind of similar or internships that they might pursue, opportunities where they can grow the skills that they need to be competitive in the future for opportunities. And so all industries are kind of on a different hiring timeline, but there are certainly new opportunities in Tribe Careers every single day, and not all for 2026. There are new things coming through and just kind of helping them think through what opportunities might be the best fit for them, as well as not discouraging them from looking for an internship, but also talking about other ways they can build skills over the summer if they aren't ultimately successful in securing an internship.
Okay. All right. Any last words for our families before we hop off the call this afternoon?
Well, I would just say to say thanks again. It's great to see so many people participate in the live session, and really appreciate the questions and the support. We certainly can't do what we do without the partnership of parents, families, alumni, friends. So we just appreciate you and appreciate what you do to support your student. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are. Well, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, families, for joining us this afternoon. This session will be uploaded in just a couple days, and you all will receive an email once that is live and ready to go. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the next one, which will be in the month of March, talking about all things path and course registration. So I will see you there. Goodbye, everybody.